Hey everyone, it's Zach with Palantir Research. So just chilling around watching YouTube, and I'm now seeing a bunch of videos from lots of other creators on why they're buying more Palantir or selling Palantir or just holding. And I just think it's pretty interesting and entertaining, honestly. So I wanted to make my own video on why I haven't sold any Palantir shares yet. And barring anything crazy happening, in my opinion, I don't see a need for my own personal situation to do so. So if you haven't seen my other videos on my positions, basically I have 5,144 shares at an average cost basis of $13.07. So I've bought as high in the 25s and 26s and as low in the 6, 7, 8s, and 9s, and basically that's where I've gotten today. And so as a Palantir shareholder for the last 2 years, if you know it was a rough ride seeing them fly after their DPO at $10 all the way to the 40s, coming back down to the 6s or even touching 5s, and back to the present day flying as high as 17 recently a few days ago, and kind of settling right now at least to the $15 range. So first, psychologically for myself, why I don't have an urge to sell or at least care to do so, in my own personal financial situation, remember that Palantir is already at that point of a set and forget type of investment for myself. As noted above with the 5,000 shares at $13, I'm happy with that position right now and holding that as my long-term position for years to come if I need to. For the long term over several years, that's attractive to me to hold, and it's capital set aside for me that doesn't affect my daily life at all. So if it fluctuates considering the rest of my retirement assets and short-term liquid stuff for emergencies like savings accounts and HSAs, it's not really going to touch that or make a difference. Like, I'm not waiting for it to hit a certain price in the short term because I need that money right now to buy a house or pay debt or something like that, since I already have capital for that on the side already. So if it's already set aside and exists over there kind of like in a vacuum, it doesn't really matter at all in my daily life, so it can go up and down as needed. And at one point, this actually was, in total, it's worth $67,000 at that cost basis, but it did drop down to $35,000 at that low point and back up to around $77,000 today. But it's all happening in that vacuum, like I've said. Now, touching also a little bit on history too, and kind of my mindset on investing for the long term, on the optimistic side. So we know about tech darlings that are around today, especially that were around during the dot-com bubble. Everyone knows and talks about, let's say, Amazon, for instance, being down like 93% at one point. And obviously today, that's in hindsight in 2020. So we know that they've made up for that this 2 decades later. But we have to remember, human nature is to be short-term sighted because that's when we feel it the most, and nothing is guaranteed. So for every Amazon too, we know there were tons of dot-com companies that went bankrupt or got acquired or just have disappeared, right? But even if that's the case, as an investor, you do have to do your own due diligence, look at the numbers, and find the companies that you think can do at least 2 things, which I think are important, which is 1, weather the storm and survive at the bare minimum, and then 2, they'll need to be able to thrive or have the possibility to do so at least once they're in the clear. So on the part of the safety side, this one's pretty easy for Palantir in my opinion. I think Palantir has a good chance in that survival aspect over the long term. Firstly, due to their financials today, which obviously their balance sheet is very good. It's a very large factor in this with their huge cash pile and low debt. But also the nature of their business actually, where half of it, roughly, right, the military and government business. In one of my more recent videos, you can already see the longevity of their relationship, at least with the US government specifically, and how apparent it is with their US SOCOM contracts over time. They recently got the $463 million, but in the video, you can see that over time, they've actually been getting revenue from US SOCOM since 2009. So that's starting under $2 million per year, and then growing this amount every few years in the large jumps at the per yearly revenue basis, meaning there's true revenue growth if you look at it over the long term, but it is quite lumpy. So not saying this is the main growth driver for them now, because reaching huge growth rates, honestly above their current 18% per year, is going to require adoption in the commercial space. But these government relationships and contracts, especially on the military side, appear sticky and are their safety net for the company as a whole to at least survive over the long term. And also, this provides an opportunity for the next big contract we just might not know about. We never know if a government's going to start a new initiative or if there's a new secret program or something for the military, and then Palantir just happens to win something really big that's unexpected. So there's always that possibility there on the government side. And this is not only to the US government, this can possibly be for the UK, which is their second biggest market, but also around the world with their different allies for the West. So on the risk side of Palantir going away through bankruptcy or being acquired, that's basically zero to me. So that covers half of the things for a very long-term investment. But now the harder part here is that second mode here, and that's their risk of reaching their true potential growth rates in order to actually be a multi-$100 billion company or possibly trillion-dollar company decades from now. Now, this is very hard to do, right? This is going to take some projecting out. It's going to take some kind of belief here, and it's going to take a lot of conviction to actually hold the stock until it reaches that or has more clues to make that stronger, because we have to project out what we think. And as investors, we know Palantir is relying on commercial adoption right now to truly reach that growth rate. And right now, we're only seeing that in the United States, especially with large enterprises across many industries, though, which is nice. So we don't see massive growth numbers in customer numbers or revenues right now in the reported financials. But if you're a product person, per se, you can at least see some evidence of that, of Palantir having this in their hand in all different pots, from healthcare to logistics to finance to everything pretty much once they've got their hands on it. So that's a clue, at least for now. And then on the scalability aspect, it is yet to be seen, of course, in revenue, but we know at least within existing customers, they are still maintaining their net dollar retention above 100%. And from AIPCon and previous FoundryCons, we can see how the application of Palantir at one company can lead to many other teams adopting it for different uses there, or even scaling their existing solution over a large portion of the company after they've tested it at a smaller one. Now, how fast this is, especially over a large customer base, is yet to be seen. But that's where investors have to take risk of the unknown, because you can only quantify or qualify so many things, right? But there are still things we don't know, especially things that we don't know that we don't know. So this video isn't meant to be a buy, hold, or sell Palantir, but just my own thoughts on why I'm not selling Palantir, especially when YouTube is getting flooded with many videos on other investor actions. Remember, this is personal to you, and especially since I can treat this as a totally separate thing from my daily life, it makes it much easier to truly treat this as a long-term investment I want to see over the years. Now, I know some of you may be using this for shorter time horizons, and that's fine. You just need to calculate that into your own actions and to your own opinions. But let me know your thoughts on all this down below. I'm really curious about it, if you've had these same thoughts around buying and selling Palantir, or if you're kind of like me where it is on the side, you've built up a position, and you're kind of happy with it right now to ride the wave. But let me know, and I'll see you in the next video.